Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I am your host, as always, Chad Porto. Joining me is the glorious one himself, Marcus Green. Marcus, how are you?
Good. Y'all didn't think we was gonna really go on Halloween. Y'all know that's Chad's favorite holiday, or one of us, and
Mm-hmm.
we got some plans laid out for that day. If Mondays don't Monday as they usually do.
Well, I will be doing a lot of early afternoon festivities because after trick or treating, the Browns play on Monday Night Football, and I got to cover that for work. And I'm kind of just like, you know what? Can y'all not?
Can y'all not?
So we're doing a little Halloweeny. If you notice, the graphic this week is a little bit different around the border. We got La Parka, Sting, Bordeaux, and Danhausen, the most Halloween of characters in wrestling, in my opinion. Marcus, if you had to pick a character, a wrestling character of all time, who would be your most Halloweeny, and maybe even just for funsies, your least Halloweeny?
Most and least Halloweeny. I mean, if I say most for the full grandee of it all, I go Taker. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Specifically when he came back and also when they initially came back in '05, late '04, '05. And maybe do that mania entrance where they had the hands coming out the ground. That's
Had a little reverb. You're good.
yeah, okay. Just checking. Yeah, that was peak. And least Halloweeny, Blue Meanie.
That's not bad. That's not bad. I was gonna say Hogan.
Ah, gotcha.
Not only because I mean, as a costume it works, but as a character, I don't know. Not really a great character for Halloween. Plus the whole racist thing. It's always a downer.
Yeah, could
Usually
couldn't
speaking,
exactly do it myself. Yeah,
right? You couldn't go to his door. What you doing here, little brother? Red and yellow only. That would really limit it to just several groups of people. Specifically, if we're talking Reds, that's commie era Soviet Union. So I could see Hogan being into communism. I really could. A racist, like yeah.
yeah.
Speaking of dumbasses, let's talk Billy Corgan.
Ah,
Going right into it. So I made the I've come to the conclusion that the NWA brand is dead. It is 37 flavors of shit. The commentary is garbage. The wrestlers are garbage. The owner is garbage. I told you off air, but I was watching. I think it was NWA USA, which is their secondary show, and they did this whole shtick where Billy Corgan is trying to give the current NWA United States Tag Team Champion a new version of the title belt, and he won't give it up to Billy Corgan because the tag team's name is on this belt. But Corgan's like, you're still the champion, but you got to give it up. And it's like, it goes on for like 5 minutes, and I'm not sure if it was supposed to be funny or if it was supposed to be, indicative to like, this guy is just that dumb and it was character growth, or if they had another segment planned and they just couldn't do anything about it. It was bad. Like, it would have been fine for like a 30-second kind of segment. It went on for minutes. And I'm just sitting here watching, going like, this dude's not a good promo. Billy Corgan can't even get the title belt out of the bag. It's just, everything about this was just stupid. And I'm just sitting here listening to Velvet Sky on commentary and going, wow, wow, wow. And I'm just, Marcus, I'm done. Like, they have, why do they have any, like, I'm done. Marcus.
yeah. It says a lot between me and Chad when we actively know the Pope is there and still won't watch.
Oh, and they lost like because like when they first started, they had James Storm, Eli Drake, they had um, Terrence Terrell, who's still there in some capacity.
Yeah.
They had Ricky Starks, Eddie
Yeah.
Kingston, Homicide,
Mm-hmm.
and now they got like Jellybean and Billy Bo Bobbery, and it's like who the and they're all like 110 pounds or 400 pounds. None of them are athletic. They're all just boring. There's no characters. And granted, they did lose, unfortunately, some talent through less than, decent ways when they lost Josephus because he passed away. Like, that was rough. And you can't do anything about that. But on the flip side, you got to find talent somehow. Like, I watched so much stupid wrestling in my life that I could find you an entire roster of 30, 40 people like that and get something going. It's just like, especially with the with MLW kind of being on hiatus for a bit. Why didn't Billy Corgan, call me like, hey, does Hammerstone want to work? Does, Homicide want to work? Does Tajiri want to work? Do the Von Erichs want to work? And now this motherfucker, this bald bitch who bought the NWA. I don't like Billy Corgan. He once did a musical experience at a Chicago coffee shop. And a music writer, a music journalist came out to do a story on it, and the journalist was like, "This was like 3 hours of just mind-numbingly stupid music," and Corrigan's like, "Yeah, fuck you," and he tries to get the guy fired. Like, that's who Corrigan is. He's a bitter dude, and like he thinks he's cooler than he is. But the thing is, he's never been cool. So like, I don't know like what he thinks is going on with the NWA. They're clearly not making money. It's a money pit. Like they have like literally 20 fans per show, and I think that's through the setup of how they want to do their television stuff, and they don't do enough big time shows where they can pack in like 3 or 4, 5,000 fans to make the company viable, and they're on YouTube, so it's not really like they're making a lot of money on ads. So, like, this has got to be a money pit, man. I don't know why Nick Aldis is still associated with this brand, but he is. And so, anyway, Corrigan now is thinking about doing a developmental deal. Like, he just said that he would like to do a developmental deal where the let's see, do I have the I do not, where he partners with WWE or AEW as a developmental brand, and I'm just like, if that's the goal, like if that's where we're at now, just fucking leave. Like, shut the company down, man, because we don't need any more affiliations with those two brands because they're both ass.
Yeah, I mean it is a specific type of booty. Very potent. A lot of it's around Tyrus, and then Corgan shares the other half. You sprinkle it down. We eventually got to get the commentary and Sky. And of course, anybody listening, we don't have anything against Sky. She just doesn't have anything for us.
No. You don't have anything against Sky. I do. She's terrible. She's ass.
She's
And
ass.
not in the good kind of ass.
Is she still dating the other ass? She's really ass.
No, they broke up, I believe. Maybe.
Oh no, we weep for the community.
What community?
What community?
The Velvet community.
Pigeon community. But
What in the Moose community?
But yeah, man, it's just sad too because, like I said, you really felt like you was growing with them as a fan, going back to those YouTube days when they had the Into the Fire, and it was a Wednesday evening delight, and and then obviously a lot of stuff happened, the Cornette situation, and then they suffered obviously as everybody did during COVID, and then lost a lot of names. As you do, we see a lot of transit as Impact fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it just kind of went downhill. Obviously you lose those names, but they had some momentum. Like that last show we watched, or the last show I watched, I should say, was the one. Their annual, I think, was the tag tournament, or certainly the all-female show, and they got a lot of good stuff there. It's just, when you got somebody that don't know how to juggle, but they all a clown, it's bad,
Billy Clown Corgan. Yeah, they need to figure out what the hell they're doing. Because honestly, man, I'd rather watch OVW. I'd rather watch fucking GCW. I'd rather watch
I'm like,
Ice Ribbon. Like,
go like the worst season of Lucha Underground is better than this.
yeah, and that's, first half of season 1, season 4,
Yeah,
season
definitely.
3. It's really like season 2 as when they were
Season 2
hitting on all cylinders.
God tier. Yeah, season 2 was God tier. Not just because of the big moment, but I mean that is the Angelico moment, but that is a all time wrestling highlight. I ain't gonna even say
Was that
Lucha.
season 2 or was that season 1? I thought that was the end of season 1.
It might have been season 1. You might be right about that because it was yeah, you might be right about that because of course there was the whole concept of the gelling of Cross and Angelico and the ever injured Evilise. Um, unfortunately, but yeah, I mean, like you said, towards that latter season 1, definitely season 2. Season 3 was up and down, but season 4 they really had to kind of grind the gears because they had switched venues and they lost a ton of talent. So, well, they tried. Like I said, even that's better than NWA. When one of your biggest consistent stars is fucking Tyrus, piss off, piss off. I'd rather watch back to back Big Dick Johnson segments.
Big fat oily guy. Yeah, NWA needs to figure out their shit. I think a merger might help them if they can find a promotion that has their own talent. Maybe lock some guys down to some livable wages on like 1-year contracts and actually like do house shows and tour. But I don't know, man. Nick Aldis needs to get the fuck out of this promotion. If anyone is offering Pope anything else, he needs to leave. They don't really have much else. And it's not like this dude is like that popular. Like Corgan's kind of a schmuck. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's interesting. I don't know what weird barrier there is between all this. I mean, he came back and did something with Mickey, and obviously we've seen the run she's had. I don't even think she would have had a good of a run if she would have went anywhere else besides Impact, just because of priority.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it'll be cool to see him back in Impact and doing some stuff. And certainly Pope. I mean, we've literally seen everybody else come back: Christian, Kaz, Daniels. Um, a slew of other names come back in the last year and a half. So I think it'll be really cool. Maybe they, I don't know, holding out for the big fish or whatever, specifically now with the regime change. But it's only so many names. I mean, they still trying to reshuffle talent. They got Brave with this new personality, I guess, trying to revamp and bounce back with that, and then they switching the whole concept with the pay-per-views and getting people their names back and trying to get people back momentum that was basically put in the garbage like Cross. So, you go there, there's only gonna be so much they can do. I mean, Emma just popped back up there, which I mean, I like Emma, but she's that's not really a loss to me. Emma don't really do nothing for me in terms of performance. She can go, but she don't really, shake it up for me. So but yeah, they need to jettison some of those guys. They lucky they still got Homicide.
She's got the personality of Jello pudding. Nope, just Jello without sugar in it.
The pudding is too much credit. We're giving him too much credit.
So I agree with you. There's nothing. Both AEW and WWE have, siphoned off a lot of the top tier indie guys at the moment, and there hasn't been anyone to really like replenish that.
Yeah.
So like, there's really no one else for the NWA to kind of go for, but they were kind of getting some interesting names. Like I like that the Trevor Murdoch signing. I thought that was a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
The stuff with Josephus, where he was both Josephus and then he was also the karate guy, whatever his name was.
Yeah.
Like that was great. And now they put Rodney Mack in the karate gimmick.
Interesting.
Like the dude's 54. If we were doing because like in baseball, most recently. The Cleveland Guardians went to the playoffs with the youngest roster ever in terms of median age. If we were doing the inverse of that, it would be the NWA, because I'm pretty sure the median age is like 44. There isn't. I think you have Kobe Carino and Luke Hawk's son PJ. I think those are your two youngest, prospects, but they're like 113 pounds combined. I'm pretty sure that at one point Tyrus used one to floss his teeth with. They're not stars. They might be good hands, but they're far from stars. So I think it's one of those things where, with the company, they got to figure out how to get younger, get better, get some bigger names, and make money. And for Corgan to be like, yeah, I think we can make some real money if we serve as a developmental brand. It's like, that was never the intentions, and the fact that this is now how, you're viewing things to try to save your brand, it says to me that you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Like, even, just talent scouting alone, he's terrible at it. Like, look at Jeff Jarrett. Like, we'll just look at Global Force Wrestling alone. He brought Killer Cross to mainstream. Well, I shouldn't say mainstream, but he was the first place to get Killer Cross. He brought in the Bollywood Boys. That was a big get for him. Who else did he have? I know he had a few others. So, and that's not even counting all the talent he scouted in Impact and TNA. So, like, you look at Jarrett, you look at Corgan, and yeah, Corgan found Ricky Starks, but there's a lot of conversations around whether Ricky Starks has any upward mobility beyond what he currently is. I know Powerbomb Jitsu, at least one of, because there's like 7 guys who tweet on that account. One of them is like, he's like a cruiserweight version of The Rock, but without the charisma, or without as much charisma. And, there's some truth to that. Like, Starks is good, but he doesn't seem to have that next gear. And that is the best name that you can argue that Corgan has found, developed, and promoted since he took over the brand in terms of young, non-recognizable names. So looking at Corgan's future, it's kind of just like, when it comes to this brand, I think it's pretty much dead in the water unless they can get a big name to energize it, or if they can maybe get a new owner. I don't know if there'd even be another promotion that would want to get involved with the NWA at this moment, because they're probably C- tier at best. Like, they're on par, in my opinion, with OVW. OVW's got some good talent, but they don't have any names. Like, James Storm is doing some work with them at the moment, but a lot of their guys are young up and comers who have a bright future, but not exactly a bright present. They're not headliners. So to see where NWA was in 2019, 2018, and see where it is now, it's just like, yeesh.
Yeah.
That's not good. Into the fire. I guess into the trash, more like it. So another piece of news before we get to the franchise faces that I want to touch on is Juice Robinson and Bandito signing contracts with AEW. This is like, how do I put this? So I play a game called EWR. It's a wrestling simulator. It's free to download. You book your own shows. You sign, and it's a lot of fun. It's all text based though, so it's not like a Raw versus SmackDown situation. And one of the things I always end up finding myself having problems with is I'll have a roster of like 92 dudes and 1 2-hour show a week. And I'm like, oh, damn, how do I book all these guys? But I don't have 4 shows a week, 2 of which on cable, 2 on YouTube, and 2 separate companies. So like, I feel like I would do a lot better job in that regard. But even then, I feel like AEW doesn't do a good enough job highlighting all their talent, because they're getting a lot of guys who could be a franchise face as C and B tier mid-carders. Like Ricky Starks. Like, we don't know what he can be, because, his biggest feud since he showed up 2 years ago was against who? Cody? No, he didn't even face Cody. He faced Powerhouse Hobbs. That was pretty decent, but that was it wasn't even the headliner for a Rampage show. And who else? Name me another Ricky Starks feud off the top of your head that was good. I shouldn't say good. I should say prolific. That had some heat to it.
No, that's been about it. Because I mean, they put him with the they put him with the FTW title.
Mm-hmm.
Just I still don't get, but whatever. And he tried to make it into something. I think he did a lot more with it than anybody before him has. Obviously, I think it's on Taz's son now, but yeah, that's about as close as he got. The weirdest thing with me with Starks is definitely agree about the ceiling that he's currently at. But to me, he does come off more like a cruiserweight guy, but his finish is a power move that he can't hit on everybody. It looks what he calls the Rochambeau, and it's like I almost feel like he'd be better with. I get it, and I understand it, and it looks impressive, specifically when you can hit it. But he's not the power guy. That was the whole reason why they paired him with Hobbs. But maybe that's just one of his issues. But yeah, to your point, I can't really think of anything because essentially, he was kind of just running interference a lot of times with Hobbs and kind of being an annoyance instead of that standout guy, which I guess is why they put the FTW title on to get him more spotlight. But yeah, besides feuding as a team against Swerve in Your Glory, the Hobbs thing is his biggest thing.
And he's not some. I'm not trying to pick on Ricky Starks. I like Ricky Starks. I think he's got potential. But he was a guy who was maybe in the top 10 of the NWA's booking in terms of like value when he left. I don't even know if he's in the top 50 of AEW at the moment. And there's no room for him. Like, one of the good things about AEW is they have a lot of young main eventers, or at least a lot of young guys who could be main eventers. It's not like WWE where you have like 7 or 8 main eventers and they're all in their 40s. Like, there's no room. So with Juice especially going to AEW, it's like this dude could be a face of the franchise. He could be a headlining star. He could be the guy of the brand. And he's just going to get lost in the shuffle again. And that's the issue I have with AEW is they have so much talent, so many shows, and zero time to highlight any of them. And it's not even just the mid-card. It's the main event scene. Like, there are so many times where, like, John Moxley or Bryan Danielson or whoever, it's like there's no hype around them because of just the way they do booking. And when you have so many shows, it shouldn't be that hard to hype things up. And this might be a wrestling problem, because I was thinking about this. When you go and watch the UFC, Marcus, one of the things you'll always see is you'll see the next 5 cards, next 4 cards on every show. So, like, if you watch UFC, for the sake of argument, 290, you'll see the main event for UFC Vegas, number 241 or whatever the fuck they're on. Then you'll see UFC Fight Night, number 18. And then you'll see UFC 291. And you'll see the top 4 cards for those weeks of shows. And you'll be like, oh, those are the matches that are coming up, or those are the fights coming up for the next 3 or 4 weeks. Okay, I know I want to see that fight, and I want to see that fight. I don't want to see that fight, but I want to see that fight. But in wrestling, especially in like Impact, AEW, and WWE, they only talk about next week's stuff, unless it's a big event. You look at New Japan, they do things differently. They've been hyping up the Tetsuya Naito Jay White match that's happening, next week, for about a month, at least. And I'm kind of excited for it. I'm not a big Naito or Jay White guy, so I'm like, all right. And if more companies, AEW included, started doing that, where they're booking further in advance than just week to week, I feel like things would be better. I feel like we wouldn't be having these conversations on guys getting lost in the shovel. Because you never hear about that with actual fighting promotions. Unless it's like someone like Conor McGregor or John Jones who like take years off in between fights for no reason. You don't hear about, TJ TJ Dillashaw's lost in the shuffle, or who the fuck should be TJ? I can't remember anyone's name. Aljamain Sterling. It's like, oh yeah, he's lost in the shuffle. You know, you watch Bellator, it's like, oh yeah, Adam Piccolotti, he's lost in the shuffle. No, they're not. They get their time, and I don't know why, especially with AEW, where you have 2 shows on YouTube totaling 3 hours. You have 2 shows on cable totaling 3 hours. That's 6 hours of content per week, and somehow you still get guys lost in the shuffle. What the fuck are you doing? Honestly.
Yeah, I wonder, and to your point, like you said, if it's a wrestling thing, because there is a soap opera element um, added on with the performance where you kind of have to see. It kind of reminds me of the situation that happened with that streak match with Bray. It was all on him at one point because we just wasn't seeing Taker.
Mm-hmm.
And then towards the end, he might have did something via satellite or some type of special effects or something, and we really didn't get him at all until the actual match. And sometimes it feels like that with some of this stuff, particularly in AEW, when you're talking about AEW talent and like RH guys that's being integrated more into AEW, like a Samoa Joe. Like they should be doing way more with Samoa Joe. Apparently they're doing this thing now where it's gonna be Cage and Hobbs vying for Joe and Wardlow's title because they're going Ward Joe or whatever is the name of the team they're trying to, I guess, build together. But yeah, I think with UFC, I mean, I think it's easy to just to go along with because there's, you know, kind of this built-in thing where, okay, this guy's next up, this is his personality, this is his personality, go put them together, they're going to fight. Whereas wrestling, there's a lot of more intricacies that go along with it, with the personalities, with the storylines, people getting kidnapped, people cars getting taken, this, that, and the third. And if you don't really, like you said, give the proper time to that on a consistent basis, that can easily get lost in the shuffle. Now, while I will say to your point about AEW, they do this thing on the show, and this is to their benefit and detriment, and you see it a lot, where they'll be having a show and Excalibur will list off 50 matches between the next Dynamite, the next Rampage, and then like a next big show. And while that's benefit because it shows that they at least have stuff lined up you get excited for, it also takes away from you being able to kind of sit with and digest what's happening on the current show that you're watching. So, you know, maybe there's a happy medium to be found there.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point that I was making with the UFC stuff. They're only talking about the top 1 or 2 fights per card, maybe top 3, depending on how deep the card is. You don't need to sit here and tell me all 17 matches on the AEW Dark Elevation, where you have, you know, Crispy Chicken McGee and Clown Fucker Extraordinaire taking on one another in a match. Like, who fucking cares? Some of these dudes are so irrelevant, I don't care. And I care about all the irrelevant fuckers. So it's like, oh, you're going to have, you know, Josh the Good Woods versus, you know, Banana Can. Why would I want to watch that? Like, why? And I don't need to hear Excalibur, you know, talk about it. Like, give me the top 3 matches on each card coming up and call it a day. You know, tell me if Hobbs is taking on Wardlow. That's the main event of Rampage. You know, TV title's on the line. Or TNT title. Fucking stupid. And then, you know, you got Dynamite, and it's Jericho versus Bryan Danielson. Okay. And then, you know, Dark Elevation. It's going to be Big Show versus Mark Henry. Because fuck. And then, like, the next Dark is going to be Shaq versus Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. But, like, just hit me with the main event. Make the main events interesting. Because the main events sell. So the fact that, you know, Tony Khan, 3.5 years in, still can't figure this out, really not giving me hope for tomorrow. This is a brand with some issues. And I think maybe next week or the week after that, we'll sit down and actually talk the whole Punk situation. Because it's ever changing and ever growing each and every week. And clearly, one of the sides are lying about what's happening. And knowing who's involved, I think more than likely it's the Elite. But even that whole situation is kind of like making things kind of problematic. And to be clear, it's not like I'm a WWE guy because I don't think Triple H is doing a great job. I really don't. I think his booking's terrible. It's really dumb, and because so many people are like, oh, it's NXT again. It's like, yeah, that wasn't working though. It's rough.
Yeah, and people don't take into account. Look what you're comparing it to.
You know, nobody wants to get shot in the head, but getting stabbed in the thigh is not better. I mean, it's better, but it's still worse.
Like you hit a main artery, is no better. It's no better. You can walk for like 5 minutes and then you're done.
Right? And even if you don't catch an artery, you still got shot. Like, there was 1,000 different ways your Sunday night could have gone that didn't involve you getting stabbed. And I feel like with the WWE, especially, it's like, it's still a shit product. Like, the promos still suck. The matches aren't that great. And a lot of it has to do with the talent, truthfully. I know everyone wants to brag about the WWE talent, but they don't really have a lot. Honestly, I know people like rave about, you know, the Bloodline, but I still can't tell the Usos apart. You know, Sami Zayn looks like a fucking Muppet.
Well, he's the saving grace right now. It's hilarious.
Apparently, and that's the sad part. Like this C storyline with Sami Zayn and Uso, Jay or Jimmy, whichever one, is like the most talked about conversation right now. And, you know, like, that's a C-tier feud. Like, are we kidding right now? Like, who's Roman Reigns facing? Like, nobody. He doesn't wrestle anymore. Why does he still have the belts? At a certain point, you got to go, I don't give a shit if the defeat of Reigns could be a headlining moment on WrestleMania. That's 5 months away. We got to do something. Because this is a boring-ass era of WWE, even with Triple H in charge. Like your top guys are who? 46-year-old Bobby Lashley, 45-year-old Brock Lesnar, you know, near 40-year-old Seth Rollins, near 40-year-old Roman Reigns, and that's it. Like AJ Styles is 46. Like there's no talent on this squad, Marcus, that makes me go, oh yeah, I can't wait to see them win the title. Like none.
The way you just looked over. I can't even remember the fucker's name. Piece up A-Town down with the money in the bank. And this generation's Eddie Guerrero and Dominic Mysterio.
Oh yeah, Austin Theory and Dominic Mysterio. How could I forget those two gems? They're gonna be so good. Oh my god, they're so exciting.
I just love how even the crowd he said that in front of, like, now hold the hell up, now even in character, fuck you, okay? Even in character, fuck you. Don't say that now. That was the line, kid. Okay, we're dealing with you because you're Ray's kid, and everybody likes Ray. But don't mention you and Eddie in the same sentence unless you talk about that damn match. Okay?
I mean, think about that. Like, Finn Balor, 41. Edge, 48. Rey Mysterio, 47. Like, all their top guys are old as shit.
And the talking point of that storyline is potentially Dominic being domed by Rhea Ripley.
And that's just a storyline I don't want anything to do with.
Which is better than the previous Stereo family storyline of Buddy with Ray's daughter, which they clearly used the guy that used to shoot people off the Apollo stage to get rid of.
But, like, is it better because, like, Buddy was, like, 32 and she was 19? Rhea Ripley's, what, 30 and Dominic's 19? 20? It's the same storyline. You just inverted the genders. It's like, come on. Yeah, this coming, like, I'm excited for Bronson Steiner or what, Braun Breaker on the main roster, but then what? Like, are you going to let him, like, run through people? Like, I want this dude to be just like a rhino through a tissue paper factory.
He definitely got the spear for it. I tell you that. That kid has a vicious spear.
Yeah, he does. And he can clothesline the shit out of people. It's just, I need to see more. Like, AEW has all the great young prospect talent. WWE's got the infrastructure. neither company has leadership. So, I will say this though: WWE did do something great. They're leasing Shinsuke Nakamura to Pro Wrestling Noah to take on Great Muta. I think these two had a January 4th Dome Show match. I may be wrong on that. Way back in the day, maybe like 2002. Let's find out. 2002 New Japan Dome Show. I feel like this may have been the Nagata Josh Barnett main event. This is Wani Akiyama. This is 03. Nope, 03 was Nagata Barnett, so was it 04? 04 was Nakamura versus Takayama. I know there was a Muta main event. Is it 05? No, Nakamura or Tanahashi. At a certain point, I feel like he was gone. Lesnar Nakamura in 06. You heard that right. Brock Lesnar versus Nakamura. Tenkoji versus Chono and Muta in 07. Was it Wrestle Kingdom 2? Nakamura versus Tanahashi. That's not it. Muta was still on the card here. Muta versus Tanahashi in 08. I know they had a match. Maybe it just wasn't at Wrestle Kingdom. Takayama versus Nakamura. And this motherfucker's been a headliner for 20 years. Tanahashi versus Kojima. Kojima. Lariat.
Lariato.
I'm just fucking with you. Let's see. Here we go. Keiji Muto versus Nakamura cage match. They wrestled on the New Japan Circuit 2008 New Japan Brave Tag 11 card. Because that's the show name for you. This is actually a decent deal. Muto defeated Nakamura for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship on this night. So, what year was this? This was 2008 in April. So, there you go. There's some history with this one. This is cool. Not unoriginal, though. You know, we saw it before with Kenta. He showed up to face, who was it, Marufuji a couple years back. So, you know, not unexpected. Marcus, this is going to be set for the January 1st show at the Nippon Budokan. So, are you a pretty big, decent show at a big, decent venue? Are you going to check this out? You know, you're going to have to either be up until 5 in the morning or wake up at 4 in the morning. So, you pick how you want to handle that disaster of a time zone.
Yeah, it's must see, man. Even if you're not into, as an American fan, even if you're not into the overseas stuff, you got to check it out. This is kind of like wrestling history, specifically. You know, we just lost the New Japan God, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you talk about absolute legends. You talk about Keiji Muto, very influential in many ways. And the fact that this is his final run. So he says, his final run, and that he's bringing out the big guns, bringing out Chad's favorite with Sting, and now getting Nakamura, which I'm pretty sure is a dream for Nakamura. You know, like I said before we got on the show, I don't even know if this would have happened under the old man's, you know, outlook, if you will. But who knows? Maybe Vince was more tapped in than we think he was, and maybe he would have let that happen. Who knows? But I feel like it's just more of a thing with Triple H because he makes it a point to make sure he has his good relationships throughout all the industry, particularly when he has to pillage, you know. So. But I think he definitely has a ton of respect for Muta and just that side of the world and with the wrestling in general. So he knows how important it is for that to happen. But yeah, like you said, it definitely looking more forward to checking this out than Flair's last match because the effery with that was almost implied. So you know.
Yeah, if I can find a way to burn the images of Ric Flair's last match, from my brain, I intend to because no, that was awful. That was 7 types of awful.
It's like
38 pounds of awful in a 4-pound bag.
we saw his great Mania match. He actually had some decent, fair stuff in Impact when he wasn't trying to be AJ's mentor. But yeah, his last match happened long time ago. Long time ago.
It really, really did. I don't know why he doesn't like the Sting match. Maybe it was because he just is so bitter all the time about so many things. But the Sting match in TNA was great. At least, considering like Sting was like 50 and Flair was like 112. So all things considered, as good as it could possibly be. All right, Marcus. That's all the news I thought was relevant for this week. So let's get into the actual fun